Queues form outside immigration offices in Malawi's city of Blantyre. Locals are reeling from the news the US will impose a $15,000 bond on some Malawians seeking to travel there.
This move has shattered plans that most Malawians had to travel, and with our economy, not everyone can manage this bond.
So if you're going, and when everybody's just flying over here, we're having increased crime and all the trouble we have, he's putting a stop to that. So if you're coming over here, and if it's 60,000 for a family of four or 15 for one, well, what's the problem?
My people, let me paint a picture for you, okay? Imagine you're a small business owner in Nairobi or Accra. You've just secured a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to attend a global trade conference in New York. Your business is growing, your paperwork is in order, and your visa interview is next week. But then you're told to bring $15,000. Yes, that's how much the United States government now wants you to deposit just to apply for a tourist or business visa, a bond, a guarantee, a message. And if you're from Malawi or Zambia, well, congratulations. You're among the first Africans to be slapped with this new requirement. Why? Because your country is now on a list of so-called overstayers, security risks, or worse, nations that just don't meet America's new immigration standards. Welcome to Trump's second term, where anti-immigrant policy isn't just back, it's weaponized, where visas now come with price tags that most Africans couldn't dream of affording, and where Black and brown travelers are the testing ground for exclusion, suspicion, and economic punishment. Today, we're breaking down this new visa bond policy, why it's targeting African nations, the data being weaponized, and most importantly, how should the continent respond? Because here's the thing. Today, it's Malawi and Zambia. Tomorrow, it could be Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and one by one, the door to opportunity slams shut. Because this isn't just about visas. It's about the price we pay to be seen. We're going to break it down, but first, thank you all to our new subscribers and members. And if you haven't joined us yet, please hit subscribe and tap the alert so you never miss a new release from us. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't just scroll past it. Leave a comment, share with your group chats, and drop a super thanks to support our channel. Also, follow me on my socials at Sandra Babu-Boateng, and let's stay connected. All right, now, let's get into it.
It's the latest move in the Trump administration's wide-ranging crackdown on illegal immigration. Visitors will get their money back if they comply with the conditions of the bond. But with a GDP per capita of less than $2,000, the fee will be out of reach for many in Zambia, which is also on the list of countries affected.
It's not only laughable, it is, I think, absurd to expect any Zambian to come up with that money when most of them do not even have any money to pay for schools' education fees.
So what exactly is going on here? On August 6th, the U.S. State Department quietly rolled out a new 12-month pilot program. Under this policy, if you're applying for a tourist or business visa, also known as a B1 or B2 visa, and you happen to be from a country flagged for high visa overstay rates or deficient screening, you may be required to post a refundable bond of up to $15,000 before you ever set foot in the United States. Let that sink in. A $15,000 cash deposit, a bond, just to prove you go back home when your trip is over. And if you don't overstay, then you get the money back, eventually. But in the meantime, that's $15,000 locked away out of your reach. For many people in Malawi and Zambia, that's more than a decade's worth of income. So who decides who pays and who doesn't? Well, consular officers. There's no fixed formula, no standardized rule. It's left entirely to their discretion. And it's not just about overstay rates. According to the State Department, You may be flagged if your country has a high percentage of visa overstays, if your country's vetting or data sharing is deemed insufficient, or if your country offers citizenship by investment without a residency requirement. In other words, if you're from a nation that's poor, politically unstable, or simply doesn't share enough intel with the US, you're automatically suspect. And the first two countries in the crosshairs, Malawi and Zambia. But we know many more are to come. Now let's get into the official justification: visa overstays. The US says this policy is targeting countries where too many visitors arrive legally and never leave. So let's look at the numbers. According to the US Department of Homeland Security, about 14% of Malawian visitors overstayed their visas in 2023. For Zambians, the rate was 11%. Not great, sure. But here's the thing, context matters here. Yes, Malawi and Zambia have relatively high overstay rates, but they are also small countries with low overall visa numbers to the US. So while the percentage may look alarming on paper, the actual number of overstays is tiny compared to larger nations with lower rates. Let's look at the real figures. In fiscal year 2023, just 1,655 people arrived in the US from Malawi for business or pleasure. Of those, 237 overstayed their visas. 237. From Zambia, the number was 3,493 visitors and 388 people overstayed. Now compare that to larger countries with tens of thousands of arrivals. A lower percentage can still mean thousands more actual overstays. So let me ask you again, why are Malawi and Zambia the ones being slapped with a $15,000 visa bond? Let's be real. This isn't about numbers. It's about narratives. It's about perception. Who gets the benefit of the doubt and who gets punished in advance? When a European country has a few hundred overstays, it's a blip in the system. When an African country has the same, it becomes a crisis. And here's the kicker. The vast majority of travelers from Malawi and Zambia don't overstay. But now, they'll be forced to pay thousands of dollars up front, not because they broke the rules, but because of who they are and where they come from.
The travel and tourism industry contributes trillions of dollars to the US economy and supports nearly 10 million jobs. Industry leaders fear this move will have serious consequences.
These foreign travelers don't use our services. They're not using the healthcare. They're not using the education. They're coming, they're spending their money, they're leaving it with us, and they're going home to their native country. We can't have enough of these foreign visitors.
So let's stop pretending this is an isolated policy. This $15,000 visa bond is just one move in a much bigger playbook. Since returning to office in January, President Trump has wasted no time doubling down on the hardline immigration agenda that defined his first term. But this time, it's even more aggressive, more calculated, and more global in scope. Here's what we've seen so far. 12 countries have been hit with full travel bans, most of them Black or Muslim majority nations. 7 others face partial restrictions. Humanitarian programs for migrants from conflict zones are being rolled back or revoked. Visas for hundreds of international students have been canceled without warning. And in many cases, foreign nationals are being detained on campus with no recourse for appeal. And just last month, the administration announced a new $250 visa integrity fee to be imposed on nearly all non-immigrant visa applicants starting October 1st. The message is loud and clear. If you're not from a rich, white Western nation, expect to pay, to wait, to beg for entry. And it's not just about national security. It's not just about immigration enforcement. It's about sending a message. A message that says, you're not welcome. You're not trusted. You are not an equal. Now let's connect the dots. The visa bond, the entry bans, the student crackdowns, the rising fees, they're all part of a broader attempt to fortify American borders, not just physically, but ideologically, to define who belongs and who doesn't. And in that worldview, African nations are easy targets, small, poor, diplomatically vulnerable, and often unwilling or unprepared to fight back. But this isn't just an attack on African mobility, right? It's an attack on African dignity. Because when access becomes a luxury and fairness becomes a favor, the system stops being about justice and it starts being about control. So the question is no longer, what will Trump do next? He's already doing it. The question is, how is Africa going to respond?
A travel ban announced in July fully or partially blocked people from 19 countries from entering the US on national security grounds, raising concerns from humanitarian groups for those seeking refugee status. That list included the African nations of Chad, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, and Eritrea.
A clarion call that we should make our countries much better so that we find the paradise that we seek, the milk and honey that we seek in the land of the brave and the free. We find it right here in Africa.
Because here's what can't happen. The continent can't afford for this to be just another insult it swallows in silence. Yes, Zambia's foreign minister has said they're engaging U.S. counterparts. That's a start, but there needs to be more than diplomacy right now. There's an urgent need for a continental awakening. Because today it's Malawi and Zambia, but let's be honest, every African passport is vulnerable. Tomorrow, it'll be Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Senegal, South Africa. And trust me, that is very likely. One by one, the walls will rise until the very idea of global Black mobility is gated, taxed, and tightly controlled. So how should Africa respond? Well, with a collective voice. That's the only solution. Africa needs to show up with a collective voice. The African Union, the regional economic blocs, the Pan-African leadership. Where are you? Where is it? This isn't just about Zambia and Malawi. It's about all of us. And if the African response is fragmented, weak, or diplomatic only, then trust me, the world will keep raising the price of our access. It's time for a unified voice, a collective stance, a clear message. You don't get to treat African travelers like liabilities while asking us to take in migrants, which Rwanda is doing, and taking our minerals. This is a time for Pan-African leadership. Even if regionally 4 or 5 countries will stand together and speak with one voice to Washington, trust me, that will make a difference. Africans are not threats. They are not burdens, and they are not invisible. If we stay silent, this policy will not be the last. Trust me, it'll be the blueprint. And by the time we wake up, the gates will have closed for good. Now let's be clear. This moment isn't just about a visa bond, as I said. It's about the global politics of Black movement. Who gets to move freely and who gets policed? It's about power, about the right to travel, to trade, to study, to dream without being taxed for your skin tone or penalized for your passport. It's about how African nations are still being treated like security threats, not strategic partners. Still expected to tolerate disrespect in exchange for crumbs. But my people, here's the deeper truth, right? We can't fight a system that we keep trying to be accepted by. We can't talk sovereignty while begging for access. We can't preach Pan-Africanism while outsourcing our dignity. So the real question is not just how we respond to this policy, It's how we reimagine ourselves as Africans, as Black people all over the world. What if we built a world where we didn't have to beg anymore? What if African nations united to create the most open, dignified, people-centered travel zone on earth? What if the African passport was not a liability, but a symbol of pride and power? Because here's the paradox. Our people built the modern world in so many ways. Our minerals run its machines. Our culture shapes its rhythm. And yet, we are the ones being forced to prove that we belong. That has to change. And it won't start in Washington, no. It will start in Accra, Lusaka, Nairobi, Johannesburg, when we decide that we are worth defending together. So now I turn it over to you. What do you think should happen, and how should Africa and the Caribbean respond to this? Let me know in the comments. The $15,000 visa bond is outrageous, but the real cost would be saying nothing. And the longer we stay silent, the more expensive our silence becomes. And one day soon, we'll look up and realize the borders are tighter, the rules are harsher, and the world we thought we had access to no longer exists. But it's not too late. We still have the power to respond, to resist, and to reimagine. So let's stop begging, and let's start building. And let's not forget, we are the ones the world is watching in this moment, truly. That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, like, comment. I love hearing your thoughts. Subscribe to our channel and share this episode, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng, and until next time, take care. Hey you! Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and join the family. Also, visit face2faceafrica.com for your daily news and updates on what's going on within the global Black community so you can stay informed.